When I come back, who am I? I came to Connecticut 15 years ago. I used to be a little darling at the State Department. They liked me for a while. I was on the task force for content area literacy 7 to 12. But you see, I'm also the running talent person. I'll tell you, we don't need to do what you're doing. These assessments don't motivate. They don't engage our learners. They disengage them. There's a reason why we have so many suspensions. There's a reason why behavior has become a part of our intervention programs. It's simple. The more I test you, the more I question your spirit. And that's a piece that's written in the research. So when NCLB first came out, I'm one of those people, they didn't like it, but I said, no, this isn't going to help us. This won't help us because we've got a body of research that says the more you emphasize standardized assessments, the higher your dropout rate goes, the more behavioral problems you have, and the more identified kids you have. Well, it didn't take me long to find out that I shouldn't be the darling down at the Department of Education anymore over there, and I'm not. But I'm also the guy, as I said, about those running into burning buildings. For 10 years, I'm the director of our literacy center at Central Connecticut State University. That means I'm the clinical director, but it gives me a chance to, on a daily basis, work with kids and parents and teachers who work with those kids who are struggling with literacy. So it's sort of being the first responder. I heard the oath keeper say, you don't have to be a first responder, but I feel like a first responder. And for 10 years, more than 10 years, but at least 10, I have heard the stories of children suffering. That's what I've heard. I've heard parents saying, why is this happening? And now, since 2008, since Race to the Top, I'm hearing the stories of teachers suffering, saying, Jessie, we don't feel like teachers anymore. We feel like we're committing malpractice. That's what they're saying over there. And that piece is coming on to us when I look at that. So who am I? I'm the guy that I collected stories. I call them persistent stories. And I'm an academic as well. Although I said I'm the most unlikely guy to be here, I'm also one of those poor boys that we do the best we can. And so if I'm supposed to be an academic, I'm going to present and I'm going to write about what's going on in our schools. So I started collecting persistent stories of teachers who were making a difference. Started presenting them everywhere that I could. And you know what? All the ones that were making a difference were not doing the crap that they're talking about doing now. Yeah. Just let us make that clear. But nobody was listening. Nobody would listen. Nobody would listen in our government. Nobody would listen in our State Department of Education. But I told you, I understand a little bit about morality. I understand that silence and apathy are not acceptable in a democracy. I get that. So what I did in 2010, when nobody would listen, when it was the second year of the Obama presidency, and I expected some kind of change because we had proved that the feds had failed. We had impact study after impact study. That's why when you hear about Diane Ravitch, why did she leave that group? The data was in. Their policy has failed. Our third graders in their control groups that had the 5 gold Cadillac programs comprehended less than the control group. The control group is the group that you didn't do anything for, except what you were doing. That's why Ravitch left them. I mean, the data's there, clear as can be. We have a data of federal failure. And I don't understand why we have state departments across the country bowing down to them. But let me get back to this piece about what happened in 2010. I decided that Martin walked, civil rights people walked, nobody was listening. So I was 50 pounds heavier. And I happened to be at one of those National Council of Teachers of English in Philadelphia. And teachers, we did this presentation and people were emotional. And usually people say, Jessie, that's interesting data. Could we get a copy of your graph? But we had all these teachers telling their hot stories, sharing. And people were hugging us and crying. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I said, what are we going to do? And I said, well, the enemy's in D.C. right now. We should walk to D.C. And so I wound up walking to D.C. It was 400 miles, 40 days. I went there. And then after the following year, because I walked there, I asked Diane Ravitch, we got Matt David, we got all kinds of people to come to D.C. And 10,000 of us showed up in D.C. for the Save Our Schools March. over there. And I've still been walking. I'm going to walk Connecticut in April because, you know why? Somebody has to do it. I walked to D.C. because I said, somebody has to tell those people in D.C. that children are more than test scores. Let's ask the question, this is the community. You are the people. Does anybody in this room believe that the best measure of our children is a standardized test? Raise your hand. You see, not one hand. Not one hand. So the only reason they would be doing this to us is because, you know, Judas took 30 pieces of silver. I don't know how much they're taking. But somebody's taking the money there. I wanted to give you a little bit of human story. I'll tell you about Eddie. Why I walked was I got a phone call one night. I have a little cell phone. I'm not really good with cell phones and stuff. It's a flip one with big numbers, so I can see them. I only use it to call my wife and tell her I'm on my way home from work. That's it. You get people text me and I say, what am I supposed to do with that? No, I can't get that. I say, please don't text me. Don't call me. It's just, I just call my wife and tell her saying I'm coming home. They get worried. So what happens is I get a phone call and I pull over. I'm a good person. I pull over. I say, okay, I can't be driving on 84 on the cell phone. It must be my wife. She's calling me. Something must be important, like maybe we need milk or something. So I pull over. And it's somebody I don't know. And it's a mother of Eddie. I don't know Eddie, but she says to me, Dr. Turner, my name is, and she says, my son is Eddie. He applied. He sent in an application. We sent in an application for the Literacy Center. I wanted to tell you, and I said, I'm sorry, we're limited in space. Not everybody can get in, but maybe I can get Eddie in the next time. We can talk about this piece. So what happens with Eddie, she starts telling me the story. She says, I'm a good mother. I know what you need to do. I've been reading to Eddie since he was in the womb. She said, I've been reading to Eddie our favorite part of the night since he was 3 years old, was when we read together. She said that went on happily into the first grade, and the kindergarten in the first grade. So in the second grade, we started doing these DRAs. And the DRA started coming back, and all of a sudden Eddie started persisting in reading at home. Then all of a sudden Eddie had a reading problem, so that's fine. That's over there. She says, I said, okay, let's work on it. So here's the story that Eddie, what happens to Eddie is, his school has data walls. Imagine data walls, reducing our children to numbers. And so on the data walls, this one particular school, they decided to put the data walls because they want to share it with parents and teachers, and they decided that the data walls should be the 3 pigs. You know the story of the 3 pigs, the straw, the sticks, and the bricks. You know it well. Well, it was never meant for the kids to see it, but Eddie one day in the second grade decides that he should get up, and he should go to the bathroom. And he should ask, and every good second grade teacher knows you don't send any little boy in his own little bathroom. You send him with another person. So she sends him with his other friend. And Eddie's going with his best friend, and they're going to, the restroom. I know this particular school is right down the hall, but it does pass the room where the parents and the teachers meet. And somehow, on the way to the bathroom, they went in. And so Eddie, they looked at the 3 little pigs and his best friend, and it's his best friend. His best friend looks at it, and he looks, and he's looking, look, Eddie, I'm in the sticks, I'm almost in the bricks. Eddie, you're in the straw, Eddie. You must be the stupidest kid in the school. You're going to get left back. And then Eddie lets loose. And he has a fight with his best friend, and then bloody parents come down. And she says to me, his mother says, Dr. Turner, I'm a good mother. If my son has an anger problem, this never happened before, but if he does, I'm for let's address it. And I will take care of that, and I will work on that, and I'll work with you all the way. But I wanted to talk about the reading thing. They told me this is not about the reading thing. This is about your son's behavior. You see? What are we doing to Ed? That's just one reading story. Another story I wanted to share, one more with you. I think I should share the story because I'm going to offer some solutions, I think, today. I'm going to drive over here. But Jason Morris is over there from New London. And we were just talking. I said, Jason, you know, we're going to have a press conference on Thursday at the Capitol, and we got some, why don't you come? And Jason was talking about, reminded me that Jason opted out his daughter out of the assessments last year in New London. First person in the district to do it. And we talked about our Department of Ed, our Commissioner of Ed, has this strange little document floating around. I'm supposed to say that 4 no's means a yes, but by the way, you're breaking the law. And so Mr. Morris and his wife were told they would be breaking the law. But you know what? Sometimes you break the law if it means standing.